I'm Jordan Martin, and this is a Network Collective Short Take. A few weeks ago, the largest computer networking conference in the world happened in San Diego. Most of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, and if you're on social media, I'm not quite sure how you can miss it. So obviously that conference is Cisco Live, and I've been going for a long time at this point, probably a little bit too long. But this year was unique because I had the privilege of having a coworker join me at the conference. I thought it would be fun to get an outsider's take on the conference in general, and more specifically, impressions on the community there, since building and supporting the networking community is one of the primary purposes of Network Collective. So sit back, settle in, and we'll be right back. So joining me today is Kern Celestine. Kern is someone who I've had the privilege of working with for a number of years now at my day job, Core BTS. This was Kern's first year attending any type of networking conference, and he was kind of thrown into the deep end of the pool. So Kern, thanks for joining me today. And let's jump right in. So what were your general impressions of the conference?
My general impressions of the conference was it was overwhelming, but it was amazing. No definition of any word would encompass the entire experience of Cisco Live, and I think that has to go along with the fact that I actually was introduced to a lot of people, and I was basically ushered in by you and a couple other people there at Cisco Live. It was just amazing. The big thing about Cisco Live for me was I was walking into it thinking that how it was just going to be like this big tech nerd fest where there was a bunch of people just coming there talking about technology. And my focus was just to go in and learn about security, more security, and to come back with something that I could bring back to the company. But it became so much after the first day. It just became so much more. So yeah, that's what it was like for me.
Obviously, you being a friend of mine, I introduced you to some of the people that I know. You had an opportunity to meet some people that you read their blogs, you had those types of things. So maybe your experience isn't the typical Cisco experience. No. In so much as that, I don't think everyone has a friend who's been going for a number of years who can introduce them to other people. Right. But it is interesting that you brought up the idea that it is a conference where you kind of expected everyone just to sit around and geek out the whole time, but it didn't really kind of end up being that for you. Right. You said you went with the intention of learning about security. Now, did you do that? Like, did you learn a bunch about security while you were there? So you got that out of it, but you were thinking that might be it. Yeah,
it's interesting because I went there, trying to, I'm along this path where I'm studying for my CCIE in security. And I went there with the intention of trying to meet people that were on the same path. But more so from that, I was trying to learn about the way to go about studying for the CCIE in security. And so I wanted to kind of just ping some of the teachers, some of the people that actually were studying, find out what their walk of life was like, and just to see if this was realistic. And I got my answer within, a couple of hours of being there. To see someone or to see a group of people that are along the same path as you and have the same lifestyle, have the same challenges, and even to just have a conversation, have open conversations with people for those that have already walked the path has been invaluable to me. That alone, I think, is what that still resides with me even today. Like as far as the stories that I've heard, the connections that I've made, I didn't think I would meet the people that pretty much invented the technology in which I'm actually working with on a day-to-day basis. It's technology that makes me laugh, the technology that makes me cry, the technology that allows me to put food on the table for my family. It was the ability to see those people and understand, where they've come from, and some of which had some really, really challenging stories, and they fell down, and to understand what they did in order to get themselves back up. And for me, that I think was the best. I sat down in classes. I learned a bunch of stuff. Some things I was doing right, some things I was doing wrong. And but to hear those stories it was one of the key pieces for me. I brought back stuff that I'm going to definitely use towards our company. I think it will be beneficial to not only myself, but other engineers. But I have to emphasize, thanks to you and thanks to one of my mentors. The thing about this is that this path that we're all on this technology that we all work with, it's an amazing thing. It provides a lot of opportunity, but it's just amazing to see the community that kind of builds themselves up around is Cisco.
Yeah, I definitely agree about that with the conference specifically. For Cisco Live, it definitely is a hub. So I mean, I think a lot of people give it criticism for being vendor focused, and you know, and that probably is largely fair, right? I mean, they're there for the purposes of convincing people to use their gear and teaching them how to do it so that they're more likely to use their gear. Like there definitely is a sales and comfort component of the conference that that Cisco's looking to get out of it.
Of course.
But it tends to be, like you said, it tends to be a hub where a lot of great engineers end up, even if it's not about Cisco, right? Like, so I know the people who go there who work primarily on other vendors' gear because they've built these relationships with people, and this is the place where everyone assembles. Yeah. This is the reunion, right? Like, so once you get established, this is the place where you know that a large number of great engineers are going to be. And it's really interesting that you brought up the people and the stories, because I mean, like that was a big thing for me in my career. So when I talk about my career trajectory, it changed when I started connecting with other engineers outside of my little sphere of influence in my job.
Right.
And it changed the entire trajectory. I would be doing very, very different things right now if I hadn't had some introductions into that community and even knew that community exists. For me, it started on Twitter before a conference and then got added to when I showed up to the conference. I got to start meeting some of the people I had talked to online.
Right.
And so their stories inspired me to go further than I thought I would go if I just had kind of done it on my own. And here you were starting out on your CCIE journey, and meeting people both who've done it, and people who are also in that process with you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it did it for you, but for me, like that's like super encouraging, because it's like I'm not alone. Like all my family thinks I'm crazy because I'm dedicating all this time to something, and my friends have absolutely no idea what I do. Or why I would spend this much time working on something like this. And then you go meet someone else who's made the same decision as you. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not, if I am crazy, at least there's other crazy people like me who are kind of on this same journey. All right. So I kind of want to wrap up on the community angle.
Okay.
I tried my best before we left to prep you with the idea that you'd have the opportunity to meet some people, right? Just generically, right? But not just people, but some of the people who have, I'll use the word, even though I don't like the word of that, as influence in this industry. And so not just the influencers, not just the bloggers, but some of the people who've done some significant work in the industry and done those things. So one of the amazing things for me in going to Cisco Live was the fact that I can meet people that were just so, I mean, like they felt so untouchable from that distance. So oh, this is someone who, who helped write this protocol, and everyone knows who they are. They've written 10 books. And, when am I ever going to have the opportunity to shake their hand, say hi, say thanks, and get to know them? But at Cisco Live, it seems like that barrier is not there. A lot of them are very social. They're there to meet with people, and not like, oh, I'm going to go do my book signing now. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to go back to my tent and have my, my nap on my nice cotton. Yeah. And the tea. No. It's not that, you know what I'm saying? It's that they're there actually because they want to build relationship too. And they're just engineers like the rest of us. They're like hearing our stories and the stuff we're doing because that's what they learned from. Just like we do. And that was one of the things that most surprised me. I went to my first Cisco Live and I met a bunch of people that I had no idea. And it wasn't because someone was ushering me in to do that. It was just because they were there and around. And if you took the time to go be in the spaces that they were in, you had an opportunity to meet a lot of people who were influential to me, right? As I read their books on my career path or my certification path, or I used the stuff that they helped contribute to often. And so it was cool. I mean, I'll editorialize, but it was cool to watch that with you because I felt like my first Cisco Live, right? Like I brought back those like, oh yeah, that's what it's like. Because I guess I just have gotten so used to it. Like these are the people that I meet up with when I go there, because these are my, my friends and my peers and the people who are there. I'm excited to see them. And it was like watching it through a new set of eyes because you were meeting them for the first time. And every year there's people who are there for the first time, but I knew you. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew you. And so I got to watch it kind of like that progression. And so And so like, I'd like you just to kind of talk, I mean, you have a bit already, about like what that was like. And then also, like, how do you think that has influenced, the way you think about your job or the way you think about your career? Has it impacted you in a way that you think like it mirrors what I just said, that it changed the trajectory of my career? Now, obviously, it's still really early, so I'm not expecting you to say, "Oh, yes, by the way, now I can do X, Y, and Z because I met these people." That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm curious if you had the same inspirational experience by meeting a lot of these people.
So it's interesting. I know a lot of these people because you see their names on books, right? As you're studying and you're trying to be an NP or NA or, an IE. And when you see someone's name on a book, it's almost like they're at a certain tier or a certain level, right? Almost unreachable, untouchable. But then you attend a conference like Cisco Live, and it's like all of that gets demystified. Like there's absolutely no truth to it at all. These people are reachable, right. And at the end of the day, they are just people. Of course, it helps because I have a you and I have a Mike Blunt, and that kind of helped me meet all of these people, these legendary people like Denise Donahue, Katie McNamara. I was just like, to hear her story and to meet her and actually see her in person was nuts. To meet some of the,
you can tell you're studying for security stuff.
Yeah,
you're reading a lot of her stuff. Absolutely,
exactly. Like her blog, Network Node. Then you meet someone like Vivek Santuka. Please forgive me if I slaughtered his name. To meet these people, the people that are absolute legends in this industry, it was humbling, man. It was humbling. Tom with Network, when you hear about Cisco Live, you hear about Tom's Corner.
Yep.
I get to meet Tom. I'm literally like, "Hi, I'm Kern," and I'm
fanboy. Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's kind of one of those surreal moments where you're meeting these people and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, these are the people that came before me."
Right, but did you feel? I mean, like I can understand that impression, like when you start, because you're not expecting it. Like these are people again that you're going whatever. But did you feel like that was like? Let me think about how to phrase this. Did you feel like that was how like they expected you to respond to them, or like
I don't know. So again, I guess I expected them to be more so like, "Hey, all right, time to go." It wasn't that. It was, "Hey, how are you doing? What's your name? What do you do?" They were more so inquisitive about where I was in my career, and it was a natural conversation. It genuinely felt as if they were, welcoming you with open arms. It didn't matter what time of day. It didn't matter if they were in a rush to get to another, if they were teaching a class and they were rushing. It felt as if they made the time. It felt they made you feel important. And so that I valued having that conversation, those conversations. I didn't feel as if I was trying to tug at their time, and I didn't feel as if they were just trying to push me off to the side. So those people, they made the experience, above and it made it well worthwhile. Above and beyond anything that I can expect, or anyone should expect. Respectfully, their expertise and listening to their walk, it definitely helps me understand, where I want to go the next 5 years, or where I should expect to be in the next 10 years. Everyone's walk and path is different, but to be able to see where they are now, where they've come from, and, value the connections and the lessons that they've learned. So valuing the connections that they have right now and being able to utilize those connections moving forward. It's like creating this large family. It's not even just, hi and bye, because now I follow these people and I communicate with them, and it's to continue to develop those relationships. I think one of the things that I don't think we do enough of and emphasize enough of is how important the term networking really is in our industry. We are network engineers, and to the core of things, no pun intended, it is that relationship. So I firmly believe it. And I think that how that's going to help me move forward in my career, next 5, 10, 15 years. I now see what was given to me in this experience, and I want to do that for somebody else. If I'm presented with an opportunity to go back to Cisco Live, next year or the next 3 years or whatever it takes, I want to be able to help someone see and experience this, because this is necessary. This has sparked something in me, a desire for me to keep pushing forward. And if it can do it for me, I know it can do it for other people. I was the one that thought that going to Cisco Live I was unworthy of going to Cisco Live, because I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't experienced enough. I thought it was a conference that was made just for people that had reached a certain tier and certain level in their career.
That's interesting.
It's just, and maybe that's just me, but when
I highly doubt it. If you had that impression, I'm sure there are lots of other people who've had that thought or feeling. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I thank my boss, Mike Munoz and Matt Rhodes, for giving me the opportunity. And of course, my company Core, because this is going to change the way and this direction in which I'm going to push to do certain things. Once I get this IE, and I will get this IE.
Oh, look at that. Now there's thousands of people who've heard you say it. You can't back out of it now.
Oh, no, there's no backing out. No pressure, right?
No pressure. Yeah.
No, once I get this IE, man, it's about, doing something else and creating a space and pretty much ushering in the next generation too. So that's my big thing for me.
Awesome.
It doesn't end with me. I think that's one of the big things. So
yeah, I think it's a good place to wrap up. Thanks again, Kern, for coming on and chatting with me. It was, like I said, just super fun to do Cisco Live with you this year.